Hello, Namaste. Wish you a very happy learning time. Today we are going to learn Henry Reid's poem Naming of Parts. Henry Reid, being one of the significant poets from the period 1914 to 1986, has given us a wonderful poem which still has the relevance in present day, which is known as Naming of Parts. Today we are going to see this poem. Let's start with it. I'm going to read it for you. You are also going to listen and understand one by one. Let's see it line by line. It is extremely easy poem written in the sestet, and it's just a poem of 30 lines, but of course carries a wide meaning of life, thoughts about war, thoughts about life, thoughts about the violence, thoughts about the peace, thoughts about the nature, and thoughts about the destruction of nature. So all thoughts varied in its sense, carried together, and Henry Reid has tried his level best to give it the best shot of a poem which is known widely as a war poem. Okay, so basically we are going to see this as a dramatic monologue into which two people, mainly the trainer and the newly appointed recruiter, these two will be talking about how the gun is to be structured together and how it is to be used, and the person who is now newly appointed has got deviations all the time and not at all interested in the training, and how it goes ahead, and how the thought about the life itself emerges out of this, and how the war or the preparation for the war or the training of a newly appointed recruiter is that way not important for the person who is so much importantly involved in the nature or the things which actually make the life lively. So let's see the poem. I'm going to read it for you. So we're going to listen it. Today we have naming of parts. Yesterday we had daily cleaning, and tomorrow morning we shall have what to do after firing. But today we have naming of parts. Japonica glistens like coral in all of the neighboring gardens, and today we have naming of parts. This is the first stanza. This stanza, rather the sestet, okay, the combination of all 6 lines, it says that the trainer is talking to the recruiters and he is telling them that today we are going to name the parts of the gun or the rifle or the substance which is there, which they are going to use it, okay, for their training. And everybody of them, they do not have it, only the trainer has it. So it's like a demonstration is going on. Yesterday we had daily cleaning, so it's like how fundamentally the trainer is telling that what yesterday we have done. So he's just making them understood that yesterday we have already learned how to clean the gun, the rifle, okay, and tomorrow morning we shall have what to do after firing. So tomorrow's course is also planned. And today, what are they going to do? Today we have naming of parts. So all the various parts of the gun would be named. They will be told how they are to be used and all. Japonica, there is a deviation. Japonica glistens like coral in all of the neighboring gardens, and today we have naming of parts. Here you can see the enjambment. Japonica, the word, it is just at the end of the 4th line, and then the next line begins with glistens like coral in all of the neighboring gardens, and today we have naming of parts. See here, two different notions have been mixed together. First, The trainer is talking about the training material, what he is going to do, and immediately, rather than that, japonica is there. So japonica is a flower which is found in Japan, and in the days of, what do we say, uh, when the newly flowers blossom, the spring season. So japonica is there, and that's why it's attracting the recruiters towards it. And of course, maybe the the newly recruited person, that's mostly possible that the poet himself is that person who is just not at all interested in getting the training of how to operate a gun, how to name its part, or whether how to clean it. Nothing. He's just interested into something else than that, and that can be a japonica, which is so attractive, and it's blossomed there. The weather is so nice, it is spring, and the nature is at its fullest. And rather than enjoying the nature outside, the beauty of the nature outside, the trainer is making that recruiter to focus on the naming of parts, which is for them was too much boring. That's possible. So this is the simplest first stanza. Let's move towards the next one, second stanza. How does it say? It says so. This is the lower sling swivel, and this is the upper sling swivel, whose use you will see when you are given your slings. And this is the piling swivel, which in your case you have not got. The branches hold in the gardens their silent, eloquent gestures, which in our case we have not got. See, again, there are two things simultaneously shown. Juxtaposition of feelings, we can say, juxtaposition of nature is also shown here. See, this is the lower sling swivel, the part of swivel that he is showing. Then and this is the upper sling swivel, okay, the upper part of that gun, whose use you will see when you are given your slings. So currently recruiters are not yet been given the slings, and the trainer is just showing them whatever piece that he has. Then, and this is the piling swivel, which in your case you have not got. So since they are the new trainees, recruiters, piling swivel will not be given to them. The branches hold in the gardens their silent, eloquent gestures, which in our case we have not got. Now see, here is a contradiction is given. Again, the enjambment is seen here, the branches. The line ends there with the branches, and the new line begins with hold in the gardens their silent, eloquent gestures, which in our case we have not got. What does this mean is, we have to deal with this all material which is used for the war, will be used for our protection, will be used to kill the enemy, okay, because they have been recruited. It's their duty to protect the nation, or to just go for the call, the duty call. And the other part of the nature, which is completely different, because in the first stanza they have shown us the japonica flower, and in the second stanza the enjambment comes with the branches. What? The branches hold in the garden their silent, eloquent gestures, which in our case we have not got. So nature is personified as having what? Having silent and eloquent gestures, but recruiters are not supposed to have this silent or eloquent gestures. They are just supposed to study the gun, the different parts, how to operate it, and just be like not so naturally a man can be. Okay, so this was our second stanza. Easy? That must be. Okay, so let's move to the third stanza. This is the safety catch, which is always released with an easy flick of the thumb. And please do not let me see anyone using his finger. You can do it quite easy If you have any strength in your thumb, the blossoms, again enjambment, the blossoms. If you have any strength in your thumb, the blossoms are fragile and motionless, never letting anyone see any of them using their finger. The third stanza says, this is the safety catch. Again, he is describing the various parts of the gun, which is always released. Okay, the safety catch is released with an easy flick of the thumb. So thumb is used and pieced. And please do not let me see anyone using his finger. Again, you see, only thumb is to be used, not the finger. Okay, so the proper trainer, the strict one, giving all the directions with conditions applied, you may call it. You can do it quite easy if you have any strength in your thumb. So he's telling that if you have the strength in your thumb, you can easily do it, not a problem. The blossoms are fragile and motionless, never letting anyone see any of them using their finger. Alright, so now there is a second picture of the nature. The recruiter or the trainee who is into the training but actually not, through his mind he is not there. Physically he is there but his mind is not there, and the nature is still calling him, and he is thinking, oh my god, these blossoms, these flowers, they are so fragile, they are motionless, and then too they are not using anything to protect them. They do not need any kinds of guns and maybe ammunitions or anything so that they feel scary and they want to protect them. It's just nothing like that. So why, somewhere the question he is thinking, why man is indulged into all these activities? Why this useless guns and so boring kind of training and naming of the parts when the nature is at its best? Japonica has blossomed. Blossoms are everywhere. The branches of trees, they're looking like wow everywhere. There is a what we can say, a fresh nature which can be enjoyed. But the trainee is not allowed to do so. So somewhere he is not feeling happy, right? There is again a biographical element into it. When Henry Reed himself was appointed at Japan, he was a newly recruiter there, and then this was written. Okay, now here we start with the fourth stanza. Okay, I hope you have understood, and it's not much difficult. That's easy. A kind of dramatic monologue. Again, we can think this, that there is a discussion and somebody is talking to, somebody is listening to, and somebody is just talking, somebody is there giving some responses, but within the mind, not that way directly. Fine. And this you can see is the bolt. Again, the description. The purpose of this is to open the breech. As you see, we can slide it rapidly backwards and forwards. We call this easing the spring. And rapidly backwards and forwards. The early bees are assaulting and fumbling the flowers. They call it easing the spring. Now, this fourth stanza gives us again two contradictory pictures. These two, what we can say, drastically different pictures. One is again the training, which is boring, dealing with the hardware, hard parts of that gun, and the discussion, which is so dry, into which the trainee is not at all interested. And the second one is about something under which sexual connotations are given in natural background. Now see, and this you can see is the bolt. The purpose of this is to open the breech, as you see. So it's the hardware part which is dealt with, and we can slide it rapidly backwards and forwards. Okay, so how this can be used, that is told. We call this easing the spring. So the spring, the word spring here is used in that context. The spring which is released, and then the spring which gets tightened later. Okay, so that is called easing the spring. Now here, spring season
can be taken into account, and easing the spring, that is what, enjoying the spring, like having the natural beauty, and we can call it as having sexual connotations, conjugation, and rapidly backwards and forwards. It again gives us the notion of sexual activity. The early bees are assaulting and fumbling the flowers. Okay, so herein it is told that early bees, like they are just having fun with the flowers, and they are also like easing the spring. The early bees are assaulting and fumbling the flowers. They call it easing the spring. So for nature, easing the spring is what? Just to enjoying the spring, just to have fun. There are various flowers, japonica, other blossoms are also there, and bees are just enjoying the flowers. So that is like sexual connotation, which we can relate it to the trainee's current situation of mind. He being caught in the training center, and he is just thinking about his young age and having sex. Maybe possible that he is thinking about his partner of whom he is not able to meet. So these two different pictures have been given here. Okay, so that was stanza number 4. Now let's move to stanza number 5. Okay, let's go towards this. Now, okay, so after this, yeah, easing of spring. Okay, now uh, they call it again, they call it as, they call it easing the spring. It is perfectly easy. If you have any strength in your thumb, like the bolt and the breech and the cocking piece and the point of balance, which in our case we have not got, and the almond blossom silent in all the gardens, and the bees going backwards and forwards, for today we have naming of parts. This is the stanza into which the thoughts have been put together. At the end, conclusion is achieved. See, they call it easing the spring. For them, it is easing the spring, like giving the hardware information about that gun. Okay, how to ease the spring, that is to release the spring. And now in this, it is perfectly easy. Okay, for that it's easy. If you have any strength in your thumb, like the bolt and the breech and the cocking piece, again the we can call it as, there are two meanings of everything. Like, so if you have the strength in your thumb, like the bolt and the breech and the cocking piece and the point of balance, you can understand it like it is having sexual connotations as well as the hardware parts of the gun. So there is a parallelism followed into it, which in our case we have not got. So you understand, like here they are not able to meet their sexual partners, and they are feeling somewhere very lonely, and feeling sad about not being able to enjoy the spring outside as well, and the almond blossoms silent in all the gardens, and the bees going backwards and forwards. For today we have naming of parts. So the nature itself is enjoying its beauty, and when there is a great period of union and reproduction and having fun naturally. And so here they have got such a boring task of what, naming of parts. So this is the last stanza into which the poet is telling us about the two contradictory things happening at the same time. So this is all about naming of parts. Hope you have understood the poem. Stay connected for the further meaningful appreciation of the poem. Thank you and have a happy learning. Namaste. Stay safe, stay happy. Bye bye.